Okay. Are you fucking recording this time?
Yeah, I'm really recording this time.
Are you
Sorry.
actually recording this time?
Yeah.
I really want this to be the intro as well, because I'm taking the super out of your credit.
That's fine. So sorry.
I'm not going to acknowledge it beyond this point. Yeah. Start the music. Happy New Year, ladies and gentlemen, and pomegranates everywhere, and welcome to another year, calendar year 5 of the Miles Offside podcast, where we talk a little bit of football and a whole lot of nonsense. My name is Chuck Bailey, and with me is producer and recently awarded smartest man in Peterborough by virtue of the fact he has read upward of 5 books. 3 of them were takeaway menus, Mr. Ian Stimpson.
And I got the other 2 for Christmas. I haven't read them yet, to be honest.
He hasn't read them, he just owns the books. How the devil are you, sir, after I hope you had much merriment. Your waistline is rapidly expanding after Christmas and New Year.
Oh, that much is definitely true. Not a much quieter one than thought. We had as you know, we had a COVID case in our house, so instead of the tons of people we were going to have, it was just the 3 of us.
Yeah.
So, very quiet. It was out of isolation on New Year's Eve, though, so we were able to have some people around on New Year's Eve. But,
Not that many, though, because you just didn't want them at that point.
And I haven't got any friends.
Yep.
So, what about you? Nice Christmas?
Yeah, very good Christmas. First Christmas that we flew away to Vilnius to be with my partner's family.
Oh, nice.
And so flew on Christmas Eve, got there, had Christmas Day. It was snowing on Christmas Day, which is the first time I've seen that in my lifetime.
Lovely.
Resplendent. So, yeah, it's so much fun. Really nice just to potter about, really, and eat and drink and be merry, as we said. Flew back on New Year's Eve and still haven't received our COVID test, so been in isolation since we arrived. Yeah,
cool. So the system works.
Yeah,
lovely.
not I want to make it clear, not the results. We're not waiting on the results. We're waiting on the test.
The actual
test we legally have to take and paid 90 fucking quid for. Anyway, that's a bit bleak. We are, of course, the British pair that usually grace your earballs with our dulcet tones. Our compatriot from across the seas, Oscar, is indisposed this week, but he will be back for next week's episode when we do our famous, in inverted commas, Tinsel Window, grading the Tinsel Window episode, our affectionate name for what could be known as the clusterfuck of the Premier League over Christmas. So we'll be looking at some of the overperformers, the underperformers, performers,
anyone who's played,
all the hits, all the classics, anyone who's actually had a fucking game. Oh, speaking of, how are Peterborough?
yeah, speaking of indeed, Peterborough have not played since when we last spoke, which was way before Christmas. So, every I think we were scheduled to play Reading, Bournemouth. Every game has been called off by the other team. Weirdly, I don't think Peterborough has been the team calling it off, but not a game played yet. And I thought we were being a bit scaremongery before about COVID possibly, causing real problems to the lower leagues. I don't know where we're going to fit these fucking games in. It's a championship. We play twice a week anyway. Where are we going to fit these games in? No idea.
It just has to. The season just has to extend. I'm sure of it. Like, it cannot end at its usual date. It's not possible. Like,
doesn't look like
it. There have been, apparently across the Premier League in total, there's been 83 postponements so far this season. Teams like Burnley have 4 games to catch up. The only teams that don't have any postponements is Chelsea and City, I believe. It's just when it doesn't make sense when it's going to happen. So, interesting. Are you still above Derby?
I think for now, that's still the case.
For now. Why? Do they have a game going as we speak?
They might be playing. I don't know. Who knows? If they play one game, they're probably... I don't know. It's not... I've looked at the table for so long. I mean, the Peterborough United podcast I listened to has been not putting out episodes until they put out a New Year's one, and it was mostly just discussing whether we should get rid of Fergie again. So it's just I don't know.
Something to do, innit?
Yeah,
something to do.
Exactly.
Something to do. Anyway, that's enough of Championship. Now that we've lost all of our transatlantic listeners.
Yeah. If Oscar wasn't being here enough, we've talked about the Championship and the fact that no football's happening. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we are recording on Monday the 3rd. Man United Wolverhampton is currently in the 92nd 82nd minute. Wolves are ahead. They've scored a goal in what was probably a game.
Was Solskjaer the problem? That's what we've got to
Was
ask
Solskjaer the
ourselves.
problem? I don't know, but I am affectionately referring to Ranić's play style as Luke Shaw. No vibes.
Good, yeah,
This
like
is it. But if we start off the week, and what a banger to start not only the game week, but the game year, as it were. Arsenal 1, Manchester City 2, Arsenal generating 1.0 XG, Man City 1.8, which includes a penalty. I mean, what a game to start the year.
Fun times. I mean, it's not like Arsenal to produce such entertainment, but they were entertaining. I mean, this was not Man City steamrolling them by any means. Arsenal were well ahead for a lot of the game, and I mean, I don't like to sort of reduce things to incident by incident, but it does feel like there were penalty things that just dominated the discourse of this game, and so I feel like we need to take it by what do you think of Arsenal's penalty shout with Ederson's challenge? Do you think that was a pen or not? Because Arsenal fans' case throughout this has been
is that Stuart Atwell now has 17 homes across the Middle East and it all of a sudden never has to work again. That is Arsenal fans' belief, is it?
That might be. But no, more the VAR.
Oh, the referees are all against us. Every team says every referee is against them.
Yes.
Funny that how it works, isn't it?
It's the VAR inconsistency of not going to have a look at that Ederson thing. Now, the on-field call was that it wasn't a penalty, so VAR only gets involved in that if there's something serious to look at. I mean, we've seen it now that if they go and have a look, they overturn it, and they're only advised to go and have a look if it seriously looks like there's been an error.
Yeah, and then, the referee's not refereeing the game. Like, what do you want? Do you want some fucking omnipotent bloke dressed in black or whatever high-vis colour they're wearing this week in the middle of a pitch, or do you want the right decisions on a football pitch? I don't fucking get that when they say, why should VAR overrule him? Whatever, shut the fuck up. To be honest, I don't really care for it, like as a... You know, it's obviously going to be a talking point, and then, you get the commentary constantly for the whole game going, all we're going to talk about now is the VAR instance. It's like, well, you cannot.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
It was a good game. You don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. So, Ødegaard's is a weird one because he kind of goes round the ball, but I think because Ederson is there early enough and gets his leg under Ødegaard's foot, I think that's why they didn't bother to overturn it. And then, I mean, Xhaka gonna Xhaka. It's, as we say with Shelvey, it's fair to say he's got that in him.
Certainly has.
And, the Arsenal DNA then just extends through the new wave of centre-backs with Gabriel getting 2 yellow cards for being a very silly sausage. So,
but this is the thing, right? Like, so you say about Xhaka, and absolutely, I think he leaves his leg out, which you can't do.
He leaves his leg out, and there's contact.
There is contact. Now, is Silva looking for it? Certainly.
Yes.
Absolutely,
yes.
100%. He's sort of already diving over it, but there's contact, it's happening. So let's make fucking sure that's a penalty by grabbing a handful of shirt. Should we do that?
Yeah.
I mean, fuck me, honestly.
Well, it's any time a player is going into that situation, one of the 3 things in their mind is, can I get a penalty? Of course, because you're a pacey winger, you're tricky, you're going against an absolute blunderbuss of a centre midfielder or in a less mobile centre back or whatever. So you're either looking to shoot, you're either looking for another player on your team that's in a better position, or you're looking for contact to go down. And so Bernardo Silva takes it. He does start to go down. His body, to me, looks like it's at the point where he could, there's no point in him trying to get his next foot in front of the other because it's not going to happen.
No.
And then at that point, he does dive. But he's already down, I think. It was a bit weird when they were saying he dived before. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Redundant. And then Gabriel, I thought, got his yellow card for messing up the penalty spot, but he didn't.
It turned out not. No.
No, it was him just like screaming at the ref afterwards. So,
Don't do that.
Fair enough. Yeah. Bit weird then how you then have loads of people screaming at the ref and then he doesn't book them. That's a kind of weird inconsistency I don't understand.
I wonder whether you hadn't seen him scuffing up the penalty spot and then gone, oh, fuck off, I'm not having you scream at me as well, yellow. And then he does what he does to Jesus, and you just minutes later. I mean, this isn't.
Yeah, second yellow. It's easy. You know, Arsenal fans say, "Oh, all he did was stand there." We didn't. He was running towards him and just only made an attempt to body check him down. So
yeah,
I'm fine with that being a yellow. But I think it did. I think it did spoil what was an incredibly bright start to the game from Arsenal. I remember texting you and some of our Patreons on the Slack about it, just saying like City just couldn't get going for the first half really, and you know, messaged that, and about 6-7 minutes later, Saka gets the first goal, and it was really well worked. And you just think that you know there's positives there for Arsenal fans to take for sure.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that was there was two levels of discourse I saw afterwards, which was the one of they should have looked at the Arsenal penalty incident, the referees are against us, and it was that thing of I only saw Arsenal fans on Twitter complaining about the VAR inconsistency. I didn't see any neutrals or anyone else. I get it, but I also absolutely get what happened with you know not getting him to look at the first one, because Ederson does get to the ball, and like exactly what you said about how early Ederson was there, blah blah blah. So it was one of them where Arsenal fans were the only ones I saw getting upset about it.
Yeah, but everyone else does like to laugh at Arsenal, so it's...
Yeah, absolutely. So I can understand getting peeved. The other side was of them being genuinely proud of their team, because I think you go into a game against Man City, who have won 11 on the bounce. I'm not sure if that's in all competitions or the Prem, but
that's just the Premier League.
That's just the Premier League, right? Okay. I mean, it's you're not expecting anything, and you're maybe expecting a performance. Arteta not on the touchline, you may be expecting a sort of introverted, worried performance, and that's not what Arsenal fans got. They got a team who looked like they were willing to go for it, and that's to their credit, and it's been to Arsenal's credit since the 4th-5th game of the season when they really started to turn things around. But yeah, it was. They were up against it since Gabriel did what he did. Martinelli looked very bright, but finishing maybe just not 100% there. But I mean, he looked about it, didn't he? He didn't look cowed by Man City's defence at all. So
no, they were generating a few chances. Granted that they weren't necessarily the best opportunities. You know, that's kind of what it shows, that they only generated 1 XG overall. So you know, to score 1, that's not unfair. But it's just then they're an incredibly young squad, and it's exciting, and you're against it. It doesn't really matter what permutation of Man City squad you're up against. You know, it's all 30, 40, 50 million pound players minimum. They just sold Ferran Torres somehow to Barcelona. Not that they sold him. Barcelona somehow bought him. He's injured, and they can't register him as a player because they still have the exact same problems, and are
They've
1
got
point
more debt than nearly half the countries in the world.
Yeah,
it's just sort of unbelievable. But
yeah, baffling, absolutely baffling. So that'll be interesting to see what that means now for January. Lots of talk because of Erling Haaland's 70 million release clause becoming active now, of who's going to kind of pay it first. Right. And yeah, could be interesting. City finally get that striker that we all said they definitely needed for this season.
Yeah,
turns out we know less than Pep Guardiola.
No, surely not. Pep, who still remains largely unhappy with his team, which they definitely look like they're struggling a little bit tiredness-wise. And I'm talking from City levels. I'm not talking compared to
but he's made in his last 3 games. He's made 2 subs total.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's not too bothered, no.
No.
And Ake still looks like he can run back to the line to clear fucking Laporte trying to
Oh,
nod
Jesus,
it over.
yeah, I forgot about that. That was calamity. I remember looking up at the TV just thinking, nah, that's not... That can't be a thing.
Oh, wouldn't that have been a lovely thing to just
Yeah.
put a bow around this game, which was absolutely brilliant. But it wasn't the only brilliant game this week, Chuck.
No, it wasn't. And if we are going to talk about brilliant games, we may as well stay at the top of the table with Chelsea 2, Liverpool 2, and a 1.3 XG to a 1.3 XG. So literally,
was it even?
Draws. I mean, the first half was just absolute... Right, let's go! Football! Bang! Like, end to end. You thought there was going to be 17 red cards. I mean, Mane got booked after 15 seconds. Liverpool are 2 up, and you think, oh, Chelsea are absolutely fucked. And then Chelsea get 2 goals in 2 minutes, or whatever it was. Like, wow. What fun this was.
Wasn't it great? I mean, it's sort of... The title race being over thing is...
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about that, first and foremost? That's because they obviously split the points here. One team getting 3 might have been better for the title race continuing, but and splitting was obviously not great. But do you think is the title race over? Let's go as simple as that first.
Well, there's 10 points now between City and Chelsea, and I think I saw something before this game was played that if City simply replicate what they did in the first 19 games in the second 19 games, then Liverpool would have to win 17 and draw 2 games in order to tie with Man City.
Right. Okay.
So there's that.
Yeah.
And the win percentage for City on 538 is currently 85%. Now
85, wow.
85
okay.
with Liverpool on 13 and Chelsea on 2.
Oh dear.
But then you look at them qualifying for the Champions League and it's 99, 99, 93%. So, it's still very much 3 horses there. And it's whether Liverpool and Chelsea, it ends up being a fight for, the second place or whatever. And it's a bit of a shame that City have gone ahead or whatever, but I mean, stranger things have happened, right? It could just be a couple of results, but it's Liverpool and Chelsea have dropped so many points at the same time that City, like you said before, have just won 11 in a row. Like, you can't catch them if they need to do that. So it's all City fucking up from here, really, and making sure you're on complete form. And for Liverpool, when you lose your 2 best attackers,
of course. Yeah.
For AFCON now. So it's probably only 2, maybe 3 games they miss. And if you're Chelsea, you decide to just cast your striker out of the squad. It makes things a bit difficult.
It does.
Not to move away from the game too much, but what are your thoughts on the whole Big Rom versus Tuchel situation?
Well, I totally get where Tuchel's coming from. I think to not drop him would not have looked good for his authority to the rest of the players. I mean, he said as well that he consulted some of the senior players. I don't know how that goes exactly. Like, that seems, I don't know, it feels interesting to me. What do you think about Rom? Yeah, he shouldn't have done that, should he? I don't know how that looks, but anyway, that's what he said he did. And dropping him from the squad, it's Lukaku doing that interview feels incredibly naive, but everything I've heard about Lukaku previously, that he's a really intelligent bloke, and so that makes me think it's calculated. So then what do you hope to achieve? Is he looking for a move? Is he looking to change the tactical system at Chelsea to suit him more? Because obviously that's been a big thing this season so far. I find it hard to believe that he didn't know how that was going to be perceived. I mean, the things he says in the interview, some of them are just obviously giving a nod to the sort of Inter fans who that transfer happened very quickly, and Inter improved him as a player, and so felt like it was just giving kudos where it was deserved. But I feel like I need to get back there before my career's over, but as in before I sort of go on the downturn. And it's,
But I just find
I
I find it so weird. Like, I mean, obviously it's weeks ago. Since then, he scored goals against Villa, against Brighton.
True, yeah.
The way the interview and subsequent things were drip fed online felt like it was some sort of gotcha journalism that for like exposing an MP, or like we had in this country with all the rule breaches at Christmas last year or something like that.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel strange. Like, why do you want to do that? That's really weird. But on the flip side, it's this weird thing where why can't he speak about these things? Why can't you? If you were in a workplace and your boss told you you can't tell anyone about what you're thinking, and if you were thinking about leaving somewhere else, well, you've just said publicly that you're thinking about leaving somewhere else, like you're now suspended for a week, and it's a bit like, what the fuck? Not in a free speech whatever way, but in a kind of workers' rights kind of way. And I know it's not exactly the same for football, and people seem to think that because you're getting paid £100,000 a week, or that should just buy your silence or whatever, which is quite kind of inherently wrong. I just think it's strange the backlash you get for it, for something that is just I think it's all fair enough. What have we all been saying? You can't say on the one hand you don't want footballers to give vanilla answers, and then they speak what's honest to them, and, oh, well, this is outrageous, he shouldn't bloody say that, and he should be made to apologise, he should be dragged across the hot coals. Fucking why? Why should it be some cult of yes master, no master? Like, no, I think he's probably right. Like, how many times have we said that you've put Lukaku in that team, you've paid a fuckload of money for that team, and you're not even willing to a tiny bit compromise to make sure he's playing at his most effective, all the whilst you are Burnleying, as we are wont to call it, and they did for many, many weeks, and now all of a sudden the stats have caught up with you, and you're 10 points behind the best team in the country at the minute.
Yeah. And
so I think there is a bit more nuance to it, maybe, than I think it probably is a bit naive, and maybe it's we don't know what has also been spoken about closed doors. Chelsea say that it wasn't approved and whatever, but I just find it a bit almost the kind of thing that we criticise dictatorships for not letting people do, but then a footballer, because they're paid a load of money, like because you're as a footballer, you are living so many people's dream, and they don't want to believe, the public do not want to believe that there is even a single tiny crack in that dream that would mean that being a footballer would be anything less than being the most perfect thing in the world, I think. And that's why it seems to be there's such a really, really vile kind of outcry against him, just for being like, no, you know what, I'm not like super happy. Would I like to play back for Inter? Yeah, I had a good time there. He had a really good partnership with Lautaro Martinez. Also, maybe he told Lautaro Martinez, don't come to Chelsea, because we don't even play with one striker as a striker. Why would I bring so and I know it's not I say this without having the Chelsea fan element present, but that's just kind of how I felt on it.
No, that's interesting. I don't necessarily disagree with you about the sort of wider aspect of we don't want our footballers to constantly give vanilla answers. An honest interview is good. I just, Tuchel doesn't think like that. He thinks the more dictator sort of side of things.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a tricky one from that point of view, that he's going to have to find his way back, which probably will involve some form of apology, probably just in private.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but like to say he needs to come out fucking publicly and apologise?
Yeah, I think that's over the top, yeah.
But the hell, did Harry Kane do that when he literally just didn't turn up for ages?
Absolutely, yeah. No. And that was proper, genuine footballing consequences to the club. This is... Tuchel has felt he needed to drop in for one match, but, no one is, at the minute, thinking that Lukaku is, immediately away next week because it's the transfer window. No one's talking like that yet. So, yeah.
Oh, no, they are. They are.
I know, but what I mean is no one's serious is talking like that yet. That's what I mean. So, this is maybe Big Rom doing a shot across the bows sort of thing. But it's no one's talking like that yet, and there's been no athletic leaks of like, oh, he's actually angling for a move away. Yeah. But Tuchel felt it was right to leave him out the squad, not even put him on the bench. And I mean, the way the game went, it was fine from a Chelsea point of view. I mean, apart from obviously going 2-0 down, the heart they showed and the
passion,
the absolute passion. No, but genuinely, the heart they showed to get back from, 2-0 down within, 35 minutes or something. That's tough to sort of mentally recover from.
Yeah, and you did it, and they did it by half time.
And they had done it by half time, and that was 2 lovely goals. I thought Pulisic, well, I know Oscar's not here, so it's a shame he's not here for this, but I thought Pulisic looked great. He looked really good. He looked like he really wanted to be on the field and was willing. Not that Lukaku not being there is Pulisic's chance, but he certainly was, taking the opportunity of there being less players. I mean, Chelsea's recent COVID things of everything should be postponed, and then you can leave Lukaku out of the squad entirely. It's quite funny. But Pulisic took his chance, I thought, really well. And obviously the goal from Kovacic was
beautiful,
sublime, wasn't it? I mean, it really was. Beautiful. It's just a
lovely,
real nice technique goal. There's technique goals all over the place though, because obviously Salah's goal, where he just the feint to take Alonso out completely was just beautiful.
Well, Alonso will do that.
He will do that. You're absolutely right. He will do that, and he's got that in him. And then beating Mendy on the near post. I don't necessarily blame Mendy for that, but it was just Salah's technique all the way, really, wasn't it? And it was
Mendy, who has now, of course, gone to AFCON. So
that's true. We've got the Kepa
we
weeks
back.
coming.
Woo! Kepa weeks, Kepa month, Kepa craziness month. Amazing.
Dear.
So we can all enjoy that.
All defences must go.
I know, right? Oscar did send me a little message last time. I forgot until the end of the podcast to read this out an episode. He just said that it was exciting and fun for Chelsea to be in a tight contest against an elite team, and the title race was already decided before the Liverpool match, he thinks. Maybe for Chelsea, who knows? Neither team is going to catch City. Also, the Lukaku situation is proof why managers don't make it past 18 months at Chelsea, even if they did win the Champions League 7 months ago. So it begins. This is the usual Chelsea-ness that may end up happening. So,
and the usual two-coolness that you guys said about. I don't really know about the European football thing, but you guys both said.
I'm not an expert on it, but I had heard that he likes to have an argument. But usually later on, I think he's kind of like Mourinho. It is normally about the third season or at least a bit longer.
But Mourinho's accelerating things at Roma as well, so why not Tuchel?
Yeah, the swings, they do get more wild.
Sure.
Whilst we're on to games with many goals and crazinesses, let's mention my own team, Crystal Palace 2, West Ham 3. Crystal Palace generating 2.2 XG to West Ham's 2. That includes a penalty. Oh boy, roller coaster of emotions in this one for me. I'm interested in hearing what you have to think first of the game or how it went in general, Ian.
Well, the thing is, I think West Ham have been very good this season. So you know, I don't know what your expectations were leading up to this game, but my expectations were not West Ham to go 3-0 ahead before half time, because while West Ham have been very good this season, let's face it, so have Palace. Palace have been good this season. You have been victim to a lot of late goals and things that have sort of gone against Palace, as you said, have been underperforming. So it was a tricky one, this. I thought, because I did enjoy Lanzini's goal very much.
I can't say I enjoyed it.
No, of course.
I appreciated the technique and skill of that guy who embraces his inner Lionel Messi against us quite often.
Oh, does he?
I've always thought Lanzini's a really good player who, through either injuries or through no fault of his own, hasn't had long enough with a bit featuring, at least for West Ham. But he's a really, really good fucking player.
Yeah, he is. But there was no way you deserved to be 3-0 down at half time. That was absolutely not the case. And then Elise.
Michael Elise.
He's a lovely little player, isn't he?
Michael Elise was 20 years old and 20 days when he came off the bench and did those things. He is amazing. 7 million off Reading because of their financial inadequacies. Thank you very much.
Oh, I keep forgetting that. Every time you say that, I go, was it? And then I'm like, no, I remember now.
7-8 million, something like that. Phenomenal. He's been a weird one that hasn't featured, I think, because of Ayew, who in the more recent stretch of games across the Tinsel window has added more creativity, or at least been making decent passes in for Palace in the attack and retaining the ball really well. So I think that's been difficult for Elise to get more game time, especially when we haven't had like Gallagher or MacArthur or Kouyaté in the midfield that are more can replicate that kind of stuff, if you see what I mean. So, I mean, now with Ayew going to AFCON, Zaha going to AFCON as far as I'm aware, with Kouyaté, albeit I don't know if all three of them maybe have one or both of COVID or injuries. It gives Elise a time, the chance to really step up. And I hope it really does actually get more starts, because he's got that take-on ability that Zaha used to have a lot more into his game. I think much more aggressive with actually going at players rather than a more mature and a different kind of Zaha that we have now. I know if I say mature and Zaha, everyone, he's petulant, whatever, fucking, enjoy that, subconscious racism. But he's also got such a great end product and technical ability that Zaha simply didn't have at that age.
Okay.
And so, on that free kick, that was amazing. I just watching it, just couldn't believe it. It was quite bad defending them from West Ham as well.
Yeah.
But the ball in for Edouard for the first was just sublime. And it was just very much we went vibes. We put like Mateta and Benteke. Benteke had come off for Elise. We had like a 4-2-4 with Jeffrey Schlupp and Will Hughes in a double pivot.
And you'd lost Milivojevic as well, so that's...
Well, that was... No, yeah, that guy is... I think outside fans, I think it's like... Maybe it's a bit like the Jorginho effect, where like, when he's scoring loads of penalties, you think he's better than he is.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I don't think the mere presence... Like, if you score 12 goals in a season and 11 of them are penalties, like, you're not the same as someone who scored 12 goals from open play. You know what I mean? Like, chances are someone else has created that chance, and it just so happens that you're the person that gets to kick it from 12 yards out. Yeah. Which is a fucking open goal as far as the natures of the game are concerned. So, like, without the penalties, Jorginho shouldn't be third in the Ballon d'Or. And so I think the penalties for Milivojevic completely masked a lot of the issues. Like, and now especially in the way Vieira wants to play is exposing a lot of his mobility issues and ball retention issues, and just don't think he's a captain anymore in this team of what is very strong personalities. I mean, we shouldn't have been 3-0 down, granted, on balance of play.
No, not at all.
Certainly, the penalty that happened was a penalty. And
and ultimately was the difference, because here you are losing by 1 goal, and you deserved at least a draw, if not the win. I mean, if you old school statistics wise, possession, you had 62% of possession, 16 attempts to West Ham's 5. 6 of them were on target.
It reminded me, the first half reminded me of the 7-0 against Liverpool, where I think we were similarly, about half an hour in, we were 3-0 down. Yeah. But it was just that, but Liverpool had only had 3 shots or something like that. And it was just, and that 7-0 game was just a game where everything came off for Liverpool and it was perfect. And you just they just annihilated us, but even Klopp in his post-match was like, that's the weirdest scoreline I've ever seen. So I didn't feel too bad. I was kind of pissed off, but, more at the individual mistakes, which is what's marring what we're doing. We're 6th on underlying numbers for the season. West Ham are 5th. You've got I mean, Tottenham are starting to do a bit better. We can mention them very briefly, but it's just still we're just chugging along. It would be nice to get a bit more, but what did we expect to? We're 11th in the league.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Your 11th form, if you just look at results, is patchy, but we're generally happy with the way Palace are playing, I think. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're in no way worried about relegation, surely. So it's like, what's the goal this year? I mean, we'll do obviously a proper tinsel window thing next week, but what's the goal at the minute? You're 11th at the minute. You've played 20, which is more than most teams.
Yeah, so it's points on the board.
Points,
and it's, I think even if Burnley win all their games in hand, they don't catch us. I think.
That's right.
No, not after they lost. Not after they lost to Leeds. Yeah. We're the 12 points off the bottom three. There categorically are 4 teams worse than us.
At least 4, yeah, absolutely.
But
absolutely.
like indisputably not in they've just had a mixed run. Like Watford, Burnley, Newcastle and Norwich, we're again in a situation where only 3 of those 4 are going to go down.
Yeah, which seems mental.
We just don't need any of them now. We've just grown. We've grown beyond
grown out of them.
Those teams are like in those high school movies where it's just like, oh, they have the teenage sweetheart, but then they go off to college, and then it turns out they didn't love each other and they've just been cheating, and now with their new partners, they're way more happy. Like the weird plot to Road Trip, I think it was, but. We've outgrown those teams.
Yeah.
And Newcastle being able to get relegated after they suddenly have a COVID crisis. Weird that they have that when their 2 best players get injured.
What are you suggesting?
No funny business whatsoever. Burnley, Maxwell Cornet has been their best player. And I mean, this may be news to Jurgen Klopp, but he's off to AFCON now because Burnley do have, international players, 6 of them, I believe. But Cornet's been incredible for them now that he learned to speak English better. And he that's not a xenophobic thing, by the way. Go back a while when Sean Dyche was saying he wouldn't play him because he needed to learn more English.
Really helping the Brexit FC tag there. Sean, thanks
definitely.
very much.
So I think they're a bit in trouble. Watford. I'm surprised. I texted you at the weekend, or it is the weekend basically, but I can't believe Ranieri's still there.
Well, let's hit the other matches very quickly, because we're without our compatriots, so we'll just round up some other matches and we'll get out of here relatively quick and give you something to listen to at least on your commute. God, we've got to go back to work, Chuck.
I can't leave.
No, you can't. That's right. Sorry, I've got to go.
I can't go to work.
No commuting for you. But Tottenham beat Watford 1-0 with a 1-0. Very last minute.
Laboured for sure. Davinson Sanchez, no celebration header.
So, I mean, what you said there, Ranieri, it's obviously he's new, but this is Watford. And this is Watford who haven't even drawn a game in a long time. So, is there any worry there at all? I mean, my first thing because you mentioned something when we knew it was just me and you recording, saying Ranieri might not make it until we record.
I genuinely didn't think he would, and not necessarily a comment on him.
No,
not at all, because it takes time, and I have seen some Watford fans going, right, he's got to January, they need to back him, whatever. I think backing for Watford means 2-3 signings, and then you've got 3 games to get 7 points somehow, and if you don't, that's it. It just feels like, as much as we joke about Chelsea with their managers, Watford especially, Ranieri's been there 11 games now. 11. And they've got 6 points in those 11 games.
I mean, that's very, very poor. That's not just...
Can you guess the team that has less points in that time?
Newcastle?
No, Newcastle actually have 2 more points than that.
Maybe?
Granted, Everton. So Newcastle have played 12 games in that time and have 8 points.
Okay.
Watford have played 11 games with 6 points, and Everton have played 11 games with 5 points.
Right. Okay.
But no wonder Everton are booing non-fucking stop and playing Brighton and being utter shit. But I mean, sorry, did we want to say anything about Spurs, or Jeff will write a letter
Well,
or something?
well, I don't know. I mean,
2.0 xg to 0.3. So like a 1-0 scrape at the end was more of like a, oh, thank fuck that's finally happened, as opposed to Watford actually played well. Like they didn't create anything, didn't do anything. Watford have this drama now where they're stopping their players go to AFCON or whatever with Ismail Assar and Emmanuel Dennis, but there's so many different hithertos and Y4s into those ones that who knows what the truth is. But obviously it's not a good look at the minute. And Tottenham under Conte now are just starting to turn up the gears and climb the table. I think they are by underlying numbers the fourth best team this year, and bearing in mind that's by XG differential per 90. They're on 33 points and currently sixth in the league.
Not lost a Premier League game since October.
Wow. I mean, they've not played many, but
for sure. Yeah, that is actually a good point. That is actually a good point. Yeah.
Two games in hand for West Ham, Arsenal, and Liverpool that are above them. Mm-hmm. If they win those two games, they're on 39 points. They're in fourth. That's not. Yeah, that's not shabby. I think this is the start of what Oscar said about Conte being a bit more scary and sorting this out, because they were incredibly defensive and stagnant. And it's whether we see what happens now. We're back in January. We could get another Kane saga. They could bring in more players. Who knows? Yeah,
who knows? So, let's touch on another game. So, it was Brentford beat Villa 2-1. Villa unlucky to lose this.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, Brentford's goals were quality, but it was unlucky of Villa to lose this. Although Gerrard in his post-match was pretty scathing of his defence. And was just like, we need to sort that. We can't be doing that. And that's, I sort of see where he's coming from there, because obviously we've been talking about Villa being mid-table, possibly even pushing for European places, the lower European places after their transfer window. But you can't be defensively letting those things through. But Brentford leapfrog Villa with this one, and look, they had a dip, but. I don't think we need to worry about Brentford as we said from the start, really.
Brentford are very much in that kind of mire that a lot of teams find themselves in, where, Brighton didn't win for like 12 games or something like that. And they're still 12th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh no, sorry, they aren't.
They're
sorry,
ninth.
I had a modifier on the table. My apologies there.
Yeah, Brighton are ninth.
Brighton fans, I guess. 8th.
Such that you are.
Brighton are currently 8th in the table. So, no, 9th. That's updated. Wolves just won.
Wolves won.
Let's cut all this bit out. Never mind.
That's all right. It's live. It's happening live. It's fine.
Talking about Brighton. It does this to me.
Who knows?
It's just in my head. But yeah. You see what I mean? Like, Wolves. How fucking shit and boring and dull are Wolves? Like, still, they've played 19 games, 14 goals for, 14 goals against. Like,
that's insanely low.
Dullsville, but 28 points and they're in 8th.
My goodness, I had not noticed that until you just said it. That is ridiculous.
Leicester, absolutely. Now, granted, the standards to which we have come to expect from Leicester, i.e. dropping out of the top 4 on the last day of the season, isn't happening this year, but they've had a terrible run, unfortunate run. They're 10th. Brentford, it felt like they started off really well and did nothing. They're 12th. Villa, under Gerrard, they're up to 13th. Obviously, like you said, Brentford leapfrogged them in this one. And you've got teams down there. I mean, Leeds, how shit have Leeds been? Shit. Shit. Ravaged by injuries. Granted, they're in 16th, but they're 4 points off Palace in 11th. Like it's
weird, isn't it? Because I feel like Leeds are 100% in a relegation battle and 100% a few points away from mid-table. It's absolutely mad,
Yeah, it really is. So it's all about how can those bottom 4 teams string anything together anytime soon, because if all those teams that are in that mid-table chunk keep chugging along now at an average of about 1 point a game, they're looking at at least another 19 points each, or 18 points in Palace's case. And that puts the lowest of them on 38 points.
Yeah.
So, they're fine on 38 points. You're probably not going down with that. So, your Watfords, your Burnleys, your Newcastle, your Norwich, they need to be doing a lot better points per game wise. We spoke about how far off Sheffield United were last year.
Yeah.
That they basically needed to perform at a top 6 level to get there. And I saw there was a really good article in The Athletic which was modelling kind of that, like to what level do Newcastle specifically need to improve in order to roughly be safe this season by how we expect results to go.
Right, okay.
And the spending they need to do and the improvements in the squad needed to put them about at a Wolves/Leicester kind of level of squad in order to be safe.
And you're talking about established teams there.
I think that was to get them to... Actually, no, sorry. That was to get them to 50%.
Oh my goodness!
To stay up a relegation, so literally they need to do that for a coin toss. They think they're going to get 4 players. It's looking like Kieran Trippier is done.
Yeah, Trippier's apparently,
which I think is a good signing for them.
Yeah, certainly.
I don't know where you then go from there. Callum Wilson and Sam Maximan being out for an amount of time, who knows? But those teams down there need a lot. They really do need a lot.
Yeah. I mean, so let's very briefly then touch on a couple of them teams, because you've got Leeds-Burnley. Leeds beat Burnley 3-1. So that was a much needed win for Leeds. I mean, if they'd have split the points
third goal went in, Bielsa was like hugging people. I never see that man give any sort of emotion like that. He was delighted because they've had a real shit time, haven't they? It feels like absolutely ages since they last strung a win. I mean, it was almost certainly Palace. Like, let's face it, that's the last team they beat. Let's actually have a look at this.
Let's have a quick look back in history. Who was the last team that Leeds beat?
Yeah, it was Palace.
Oh dear, sorry.
Palace on the 30th of November. So, I mean, that feels a long time ago, but they missed 2 games in there. But yeah, they had a draw with Brenton. Drew with Brenton, and then they lost to Chelsea, City, and Arsenal. We were meant to play Liverpool and Villa, but those got postponed, and then a big win against Burnley. So a 2.1 XG as well. So they actually performed to those numbers.
I thought they did well to win that, considering I don't think Rafinha looked 100% at the races. At least his first ball wasn't great.
Yeah, he's been a lot quieter.
Yeah,
weirdly at this time that those Bayern rumours have come out that he's apparently going to Bayern Munich. So
right.
Let's hope
it's not that.
I don't really care.
Except I like seeing Rafinha. I'm a big Rafinha stan.
I like him in my fantasy team. Whatever. Everton, Brighton. Brighton scoring 3 goals. 3 goals for the first time this year. They continue to get all the luck after Calvert-Lewin puts his penalty into orbit. Prick. And Anthony Gordon getting 2 goals.
Well-known 12-year-old Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, never heard of him.
Everton. They're in real trouble, aren't they?
Yeah, well, we said before, since in their last 12 games, they've had 5 points.
Serious trouble, though, because, I mean, just generally, I feel like, as in stretch it out a bit, they're in trouble. They've spent ridiculous amounts of money in the last 10 years, and their squad doesn't look any stronger to me than it did 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I
think it's Man United at a lower level down the table.
Yeah,
I really
that's a good shout, yeah.
I think because there's been no... when you have clubs with a director of football, you have that person that is going to be there for 10, 15, 20 years, whatever.
Yeah.
So they understand the pieces and what they need at what point for what manager to get to where. And whereas a manager, oftentimes, because they know... I mean, chances are, if you look it up, the average lifespan of a manager in the Premier League is like 14 months, probably 15 months.
Yeah.
I know Watford bring that curve down quite a lot, but I think that's fair, a season and a half or so. I mean, Hassan, who always now that he's gone 3 years, is Southampton's longest serving in the Premier League or something like that. Hodgson at 5 years for Palace, that was unheard of at the time, and Dyche and those kind of things. They're very much an anomaly. But when you have that, you have those managers think for right now. And so if you don't have that overarching focus and you just buy for those players, well, when they go, you're then left with their bits. Well, now if you bring in another manager that plays a different style, you've got to get those players existing to either conform to the style or add new bits, and you end up with this Frankenstein's monster of a squad, which when you have that and you're Carlo Ancelotti and some of those pieces were bought specifically for you and it's great, then it can work out. But then when that manager goes, you then lose some of the other pieces for various reasons. They're in the same situation, I think, as Man United, where it's just a mess. It's just a mess of names that have been bought.
It is a mess. I've been really disappointed with Benitez. I feel like the basics weren't there. The gap between defence and midfield that Brighton were just exploiting again and again. And it's Brighton. And that's not me, kowtowing to you. But it's Brighton. This isn't fucking Arsenal even. Or let's go upward stage. Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, who would have fucking, you feel like on this day, would have scored 8 against Everton. It was just, it's Brighton. And they were consistently finding the same ball over and over again. And it was poor from Everton, and I don't know what changes.
And they need to fix it quick, because their run of fixtures up till mid-February is Leicester, Norwich, Villa, Newcastle, Leeds, Southampton. They still have their 2 postponements are Burnley and Newcastle. So all of those are teams that in years gone by you'd think, oh, Everton win that.
Yeah.
Because then afterwards they've still got all of the top 6 to play. They've got City, then they've got Tottenham, then they've got Wolves, then they've got Watford, West Ham, Man United, Palace, Liverpool, Chelsea. If they don't get something in the next 6 games, they're in real trouble. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be very, very hard. Whether that means they go down or not, who fucking knows? Could Everton be that new club that we thought were too big to go down? There is still...
That would be insane, but
they've still got an 8-point cushion as it stands, not including, obviously, games in hand and whatever, but...
You're right. It's funny because it's one of them where just other teams are being so bad that, with that points number, with that number of games, you'd usually say, definitely relegation scrap, but it's just there's so many poor teams down there.
I mean, they play Newcastle twice, who are below them.
Right.
They play Burnley once, who are below them.
So they're huge
games. They play
games
Norwich, who are below them.
Yeah.
They play Watford, who are below them. Imagine if they lost those 4 games, you're just giving up points to those teams below you and making it much, much more easy for them. So worrying. And Brighton.
Yeah.
If we sort by XG differential per 90, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, yeah, they're performing to 10th. So, fair enough. Doing 8th, you're overperforming. So, there you go.
Right, so, I suppose we should call it there. We haven't been able to watch the Man United Wolves game because we've been recording while it's been on, but obviously it looks like Wolves won. Good value for their win by the looks of it. So
in a way, Phil Jones was playing. Phil Jones, Phil Jones, who isn't 30.
Huh.
Phil Jones is still in his 20s.
With those faces.
Until next month.
That seems utterly unbelievable.
What is this madness? Unbelievable kind of thing. So we'll see if Ragnarok can actually do something with that team going forward. That about rounds us out for tonight.
I suppose we should say we've got a new Patreon.
We do. We had a new Patreon, didn't we?
We did. Old Brandon from Always Cheating. He decided never heard of him. Never heard of him or his Tin Pot podcast.
His Tin Pot. Tens of thousands of listeners. Wonderful.
Roughly 100 times as successful as we are. But yeah. Well done, Brandon. Thanks for paying it forward. Love you very much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Brandon. Brandon said he wanted to gift some more podcasts to help support, and we really, really do appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you guys. 2021 was fantastic. We met so many new people. You
mean genuinely? I thought when you said 2021 was fantastic, I was sort of going, he's being sarcastic.
Let's see the joy. Let's not worry about the outside world, all the apocalypses, all of that. Let's just focus on our little corner of the world,
which has been lovely,
which has been made brighter by the interaction with all of you. Apart from you know who you are. And it's been amazing on the Slack. So, you can join us as well, Miles Offside. Patreon.com/Miles Offside Pod.
Oh, it felt like Oscar was here.
Anything from $2 a month, and you get yourself into the Slack, and you can join us and have real good chat. There's about 20 of us in there, so it's intimate enough and broad enough that I kind of get diluted just enough.
Chuck dilution is what we're after.
This is it.
Just a homeopathy level of Chuck.
Absolutely. Just 1 part per million diluted in 1 part per million is enough to cure arthritis. I will die on this hill.
Sure.
I am a homeopathic miracle. Thank you very much. We'll be back next week. I hope Ian started the music way before this when he's doing it in post this week. Yeah. It should have finished. So we'll be back next week with a tinsel window and Oscar. But say goodbye, Ian Stimpson.
Goodbye, Chuck. A pleasure talking to you.
Goodbye. Yeah. Thanks, mate. Yeah, it's a pleasure talking to you. That's like when you say "How are you?" and someone genuinely asks afterwards, and it caught me by surprise. Thank you very much.
Heartfelt emotion.
Good to talk to you, and big thanks to all of our producers: Andy Penpraise from Sutton, Jeff Pedder, Johnny Worthington, Mark Daffin, Nate Whittam, and Sam Danby. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.